Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Courtside with Christy and Gabe. I am Christy Winter-Scott, joined as always by my guy, Gabe Ibrahim, right here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. Gabe, oh boy, it is percolating and it's simmering. Women's basketball on the college level is on and popping, but there have been some moves that have been made in the WNBA on the coaching side. But tonight is the draft lottery. So many things to talk about. I don't know where we start. You can tell us where we start and we'll just take off.
A comical amount of news, as per usual in the women's basketball world, especially as it gets a little chilly. It's been raining today, so now it feels like real fall. We had our first high school practices this week, tryouts and practices. So I've been watching a lot of basketball.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's super exciting. But it does feel like we're almost like full swing in basketball. And the first week of the season had some really nice games, some really great performances. Got to see some of the players that we've been missing. And then also, as you mentioned, 4 head coaching hires in the WNBA.
4 of them.
Since the last time we talked.
I know.
That's insane.
That is insane. But they were saying it could be as many as 6. So are there 2 more coming? Like, we don't know.
I mean, are all the vacancies filled? Because LA is filled, Connecticut's filled, Indiana's filled.
Indiana. Yeah. I thought, I don't know. This was like right after the WNBA season ended. Mm-hmm. There were some speculatory comments being made that there could be as many as 6. So maybe it's just going to be the 4, but never know.
Well, I do think we should start though in college basketball before we get to the pros, because the season just started and we got some really nice performances, some nice games, as I mentioned. Yeah. Anything stick out to you? I have one item that I know will stick out to you. But any other players that you saw that you were really impressed by, or anything that caught your eye in this first week?
Yeah, I mean, it was the opening day, right? I think or the next day. Yeah. It was the it was the Ohio State Tennessee game.
We will talk about an Indiana Tennessee game as well.
I know, which is why that was on my head, because I'm always forward thinking. But I had to take it back a couple days, flashback Friday. But this week the Ohio State Tennessee game was phenomenal. And it was packed in there. Mm-hmm. It was just a great atmosphere, but a great fight by Ohio State to get back into that game, and not only get back into it, but overtake and win it against a really tough Tennessee team that has Jordan Horston back healthy. She played great, but it was just Ohio State's night that night.
Well, and I think the press of Ohio State looked in midseason form. And that's such an awesome thing, because I feel like for Ohio State, when their press is going, that's when they are at their best. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, JC Sheldon was all over the place in the backcourt. Her length really stuck out to me in this game in a way that maybe it hasn't in the past. Like, obviously, I've watched her, but this time around, she just really was everywhere on those inbound passes, creating a havoc. And then offensively, she played really well too. But Ohio State looked really clean, really in midseason form. Tennessee, on the other hand, a little sloppy. I think this was a really tough opponent for them in their first game, so I'm not quite as concerned about their long-term projections. Mm-hmm. But I did think they were very sloppy, and there's going to be teams that can do what Ohio State did to them later in the year, so they're going to need to figure it out.
True. I had Tennessee in the NCAA tournament. The analyst on those games, and I know one of the bugaboos was their ability to take care of the ball or lack thereof. Mm-hmm. And like, you're right, against a team like Ohio State, I think there were some issues with playing under pressure, right? And playing under duress, and the ability to make plays out of being blitzed, right? And Ohio State, they're gonna bring that to you. I mean, they really embraced their full court press last year, and it just developed over time. And all of a sudden now that has become who they are. Like, you're gonna get pressured. You're gonna get hemmed in on the sidelines. You're gonna get forced into the coffin corner.
Yep.
And they rotate heavy out of the traps. So they have 2 people on the ball, 2 people, 1 pass away, and a safety. So good luck trying to make a clean pass out of that. And it's not just, oh, I'm going over here to trap. It's like, no, they're in your grill and they are forcing you to play sped up. And it's just really been fun to watch how that has become their philosophy and personality as a team.
I love hearing you talk about the press, Christy. I know it's one of your favorites.
It's one of my favorite things.
So I would love hearing the breakdown of the press, but it caused a ton of havoc. 29 turnovers, 7 for Jordan Horston. And so despite 20 points and 13 rebounds, kind of negated out by those 7 turnovers. But, like I mentioned, first game of the season, let's not go crazy. These big early season matchups are good to see, just where the teams are to start. I don't think how predictive this is not the point here. I think it's just more of, hey, where are these teams at? And I think Ohio State just looks more together, more in sync. And that's not all that surprising considering that, this team has largely been together. Taylor Mikesell too. We don't talk enough about her. 25 points. 4 of 10 from 3. She was 5 of 8 from 2, 4 of 10 from 3. It's just more threes than twos. Always a little weird to see. But she was unbelievable. So I think Ohio State looking good. Obviously, conference regular season champion last year. Did it change anything for you in terms of where you see them in the Big Ten? Do you see them? Obviously, that hasn't gone down, but does it push them maybe more towards the top?
I think so. I mean, they were battle tested in that game, right? Like I said, they had to fight for it. It wasn't like they led wire to wire in that one. They had to really grit that one out. Yeah. So yes, I was impressed to say the least. And I could see some inching up a little higher in the Big Ten standings. And just because of their defense, I mean, 29 turnovers, you talk about empty possessions. Oh, that's a lot of meat left on the bone. I like to say it, like you left a lot. And I don't know. I just think that's going to wreak a lot of havoc on a lot of teams. And if they can shoot the ball well on top of pressuring and turning teams over, that's a difference maker.
Yeah. And I think, one thing they will have to continue to innovate, right? Because when teams see your press, they can kind of figure out a way around it. So later in the season, I'm sure we'll see different things that Ohio State's doing. They'll throw different wrinkles into it. And obviously, again, this team does have a lot of experience from last year. So I'm not surprised Ohio State won this game. I'm not that surprised that Tennessee lost this game, considering what kind of some changes there. So to me, I'm okay. I think Tennessee probably a little overrated coming into the season based on us projecting where they're going to be at the end of the season, because as you mentioned, they have just so much talent. I mean, Jordan Horston, Rakia Jackson, Tamari Key, you have Jordan Walker, who had some nice plays. Jasmine Powell had 19 points. So a lot of talent on the team, just hasn't quite come together yet. And I think this team is offensively is going to take some work just because of the kind of overlapping talents of some of those players that I mentioned. So not that concerned about Tennessee, but good for Ohio State. Good for Ohio State.
Really great one. I know Kevin McGuff is pleased. It was a big challenge. I know he was at their pep rally or whatever. I don't know what they call it. I'm sorry. But he was saying, hey, come out and support our team. We're going to be great. We're playing Tennessee, like a storied program, women's basketball. And that place was packed. The place was packed. Yeah, wow. They had the dub chain. Did you see the new dub chain?
No,
they have a new dub chain. It's like huge. Well, they gave it out last year after every game for the player who I guess was the straw that stirred the drink for the team that day. But this last game, they broke out a new one, and it's like this huge, and it says dub, and it's like diamond encrusted. But it's
I like
great.
it. Fun. As a Miami Hurricane fan, I love all chain-related celebrations. That was a good time when we had the chain going. And now we're terrible at football. We're terrible at football.
They'll get it back.
It's fine. We're a basketball school now. Miami's a basketball school. We'll talk about Miami. Because I do have a bone to pick with the NCAA as per usual.
They text you. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I'm pretty mad about it. But I don't want to start off with being mad. I want to talk about another team that I think there's one other ranked matchup that I think we should talk about. Creighton over South Dakota State in South Dakota State. Creighton actually completed the South Dakota two-step by beating South Dakota State, beating South Dakota early in the season. Creighton, I mean, look, this is an offense that is really resilient, I think, to change and to players coming in just because of how much they share the ball, how much they move around. But I think Creighton looks really, really good to start the season. And I think they're a team that could make a little noise in the Big East. Like, can this team finish second in the Big East? Can this team make some noise in the conference tournament? I think they can after their Elite Eight run last year.
Right. I mean, when they beat Iowa last year to go to the Elite Eight, I mean, that was huge. And to bring basically everybody back, right? I think there's something to say for that. There's something to say for that when you have that kind of continuity and chemistry, but also the confidence that comes from winning, right? You can't take that away. You can't quantify that. The mentality that it takes to advance the way that they did last year, and then to come in this year and knock it out of the park, not once, but twice. I think that speaks volumes for their team's character. I mean, you have to be ready, and you know that people are ready for you because of what you did last year. So it's always a constant raising of the bar, the expectations for yourself, number one, but then as a team overall, I think, you expect that of yourself and one another when you're out there competing, but then, will they be able to make some noise and be right up in the mix, the top two in the Big East? I say, why shouldn't they be able to do that?
Yeah.
I think that's definitely possible.
You have a star player in Lauren Jensen. I think she's proven that. She had 30 points in the opener against South Dakota State. And again, like I mentioned, this offense is not about one player scoring. It is about the motion. It is about the sharing of the basketball, but she's going to have a really big year, I think. And then they also just have a cast of like Morgan Malley, like seemingly every third or fourth game has 20 points, just like randomly, whether it's off the bench or starting. She's just a player who can kind of get hot and score for this team in different ways. So I think they're really variable. I think they're tough to guard. And I think they're kind of like, they're great coaches offense because they are exactly what you want. They move the ball. They know where to be, and they're not selfish in trying to stick with the ball. Exactly. Big tests coming up for them with Nebraska on the 15th. So that would be Tuesday.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game.
And for those of you, so I'm sure you know this now, but I think a lot of people know that Creighton's in Omaha, Nebraska. It is.
A lot of people don't know that, but if you didn't know, Gabe just told you. So there you go.
This is a pretty big rivalry from what I could understand between Creighton and Nebraska. So I think that's going to be a huge game. And, if Creighton wins that, then we're talking about this team in a little different manner, but we will wait for that and for some other big games coming up, including one that you will be going to. And that is very exciting. Let's see. So I'm gonna throw out some big performances. You let me know if there's any of them you want to talk about. Haley Van Lith, 28 points against Cincinnati. Really strong game from her.
I still not you agree with that. You have your Louisville shirt on.
Oh yeah. I did want to make a Bellarmine joke because the men's team lost.
Oh yeah.
But I can't be mad about that because that's a team that they never dribble. Like there's a really good YouTube video. It's called The Team That Doesn't Dribble. And this team, it's just really interesting about like how little they dribble the ball. But Louisville's men's team lost to them. Louisville's women's team did a little bit better because Haley Van Lith went off 28 points. And like I said, efficient, good shooting numbers, getting to the line really well. Still not shooting the three ball that well. But I think she just needs to take them, and she is taking them and making enough of them that the defenses have to respect her. So really big performance from her. Did you get to catch any of that?
I did not see that, but I catch up on the news, read about it, saw her stat line, but wow, I mean, she's just primed and ready. I mean, a Final Four run last year for Louisville, Jeff Walls and Haley Van Lith and company. I just think it's fun to watch these players evolve from their freshman year on through, and just to see the confidence level that Haley Van Lith plays the game with. I mean, she's a fireball, Gabe. I mean, how tough is it to stop a player who brings that level of just moxie to the floor? I
Well,
mean, it's just
and
tough.
not only does she have that, she just has like a complete green light now too.
Yeah.
So she's and her shiftiness. I mean, I think you see her and you don't think like, hey, she's this explosive athlete, and you see her on the floor and she gives you a jab step, and you're in the next county.
Mhm.
So she's just one of those players who, yeah, I think the mentality is all there for her, and
Yeah.
then her speed, her shiftiness is just continuing to grow. And
Agree.
I feel like in a normal year she would be a player of the year candidate. I just
Mhm.
don't think it's appropriate to say that anyone is a player of the year candidate other than Aaliyah Boston, and then to a lesser extent Caitlin Clark. I think those two, barring some unforeseen change, are going to be the two that are in the mix because they've been in the mix the last few years. But Haley
Exactly.
Van Lith is a player who
Yeah.
is of a player of the year caliber.
Absolutely.
Great start
Absolutely.
for her. Great start
Yeah.
for her.
Absolutely. I agree.
South Carolina took care of ETSU.
Yeah.
Aaliyah Boston had a double-double, light work for her.
Yeah.
And then Zia Cook, 17 points, an efficient 17 points. I'm
I like
telling
that.
y'all, the Zia Cook bounce back is coming this year. And she hit a lot of her shots. So hopefully, her shot profile is going to look a little better. Her shot percentages are going to look a little better. Good start for all that.
Yeah, I know. I think they're tremendously balanced. I mean, obviously, they're missing their shifty point guard
Mm-hmm.
from last year, but Destiny Henderson. But I think they have more size and speed this year. I mean, I think they've always
Yeah.
had the speed. And Destiny Henderson, I mean, she personifies the word speed. But I just think that this team, even without her on the floor, controlling the pace on both sides of the ball, I still think they possess a lot of speed, but they also have now this size. And Dawn Staley has said, hey, our lineup is going to be huge. Like our twos and threes are going to be long and lanky. We're going to be able to pressure and run. And I don't know. It's just going to be a fun style of basketball with bigger players for South Carolina this year across the board.
Yeah.
Across the board.
No, well, they're going with what's happening in basketball, which is getting longer. Everyone's getting longer, right? The point guards are bigger. I think Zia Cook is probably the smallest player that's going to play major minutes on this team. And as Chiquita points out, what's up, Chiquita?
Chiquita.
Raven Johnson had a nice game. 17 minutes, 9 points, 4 of 10 from the field. Most importantly, 4 assists, 0 turnovers, also 4 steals. So really great start for her. Yeah. This is kind of her first major experience, and if she can get ready early in the season, they're going to have some tests. Then they're going to probably be good for the Final Four.
Agreed.
As we have seen in the past. So that's South Carolina. Shout South Carolina. We got our South Carolina fix here. I'm going to throw 2 at you in rapid fire. You let me know which one you want to talk about. Ashley Jones, 28 points versus Cleveland State. Nice game for her. Olivia Miles, 17 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists against Northern Illinois. I know it's not a big game, but that's a really nice stat line. I think so much she's going to do all season long. So Ashley Jones or Olivia Miles, did you catch either of those?
In the same way that I caught all these other ones, but yes,
it's so much basketball to start.
It's a ton, but I love it. But Olivia Miles, let's just start there because I mean, her ability to shine at a young age and to play with the awareness of a senior, right? Like her ability to see and survey the floor is masterful. Like she is just spectacular with the decisions that she is able to make in a snap of a finger. Like she's making these quick reads, whether it be for her or for her teammates. Like she just gets it. She understands the game so well, and it's really impressive to see.
She had 6 steals in this game. I did not see that. 6 steals?
Yeah.
You out of your mind?
Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. She's like always on. I mean, there's never a time where she's like, oh, let me take this play off. Oh, I'm tired of this one. Let me just go ahead. Let my teammate get it. No, she's like, let's do this. And you have to appreciate that. What'd you say?
She's just special basketball over there. She's so good and so cool that I feel like, the rec specs are going to make a slight comeback because she wears her little goggles. So I think there may be may catch on a little bit more as we've seen some other players do. So Olivia Miles, tremendous performance. Ashley Jones, we'll talk about you throughout the whole season. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, she's phenomenal too. So
I got one more player to talk about. One that you're very familiar with. Bree Scott. Georgetown Open versus Salem. 5.6 rebounds, 3 blocks, and a steal. Heck of a defensive performance. Obviously, you were there. What were your impressions of Georgetown and your daughter?
Yeah, you know what? I thought that it was a strong game. I think they have more solid depth on the perimeter this year, albeit with a freshman point guard, but I think they have good chemistry. They had good rotations. Bree is she's recovering from a little bout of tendonitis in her foot. So she's only been cleared for like a week, prior to that game against Salem. So, she's just making her way back. But I thought that she looked great. I thought that, her rhythm is getting there. I know she wanted to knock down, a couple more opportunities that she had. They were good looks though. So you can't be mad at it. And, they had a scrimmage against Duke and she knocked down a couple threes, got an and one, made all of her shots in that game, and did really well. So she's coming along. But really pleased with her board work and her blocks. And the one block led to a run out, which was, I had to stand up with my fat head of Bree. And my mom was standing up and she always points to the sky. It's really fun. But yeah, it was just fun to be back at the gym. Right.
Yeah.
But she's doing well. They play Temple tomorrow in Philly.
That's a good game.
So that's the next game. And so, it's a progression. So she's doing well though.
All right. Go Bree, our favorite Courtside's favorite player by far.
Oh yes, number 15.
No. I do want to go around to my teams. William Mary, Erin Dickerson Davis got her first win, 15 points over Navy. There we go. Get the first W on the board for the Tribe. Let's see. What if Maryland blew out someone? Is all right. Actually, let's save Maryland for just 1 second.
Okay. I'm about to say. Okay, go ahead.
We'll get to Maryland. I do want to mention Miami. Somehow, Miami. The absolutely Miami has been targeted by the NCAA in the past for many different things, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, whatever. Unfairly so, and also the NCAA has literally committed crimes in order to try to get Miami in trouble for NCAA violations. So it makes me really mad when our women's basketball head coach gets suspended for 3 games to start the season without any explanation as to what she did in a world where there were very few rules as to what we can and cannot do. In the NIL era, there's no rules because the NCAA said, you're basically on your own, so figure it out. Miami figured it out, and we're the only people getting in trouble. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It just, look, I know everyone has a persecution complex when it comes to the NCAA. I'm just saying, Miami gets it really bad. I'm very upset as to why this is happening without explanation. Katie Myers suspended for her first 3 games of the season. Miami's going to do fine. They've already won the first 2 of those. She will come back after the third. I'm just like, I don't know what to say to the NCAA anymore. Just leave us alone. There was no rules and somehow we got in trouble.
Right. Well, there's nothing worse than not knowing the rule or the rules not being stated, and then you go and you do whatever you need to do. And then they're like, oh, okay, what are you doing? I don't even want to get started with that because there's something. But anyway, yeah, that's irritating. So, I mean, if you don't like what I'm saying, say something. Isn't that something that Drake said in the song? Something like that. Right. So if you don't like something, say something ahead of time. Yeah. Right? We need parameters set. And this is not just for NCAA. This is a life skill, right? This is a life skill. Ahead of time, let's have everyone on the same page so that we understand the expectations. I'm not going to, for a board game, I'm not going to get a board game out and not take out the rules of the game, right? I'm not just going to throw all the pieces out there and just, well, let me try to figure out what this game is supposed to be. Tell me how to play the game, man. And then I'll do my best to play it properly, right? I'm not going to go in there and just roughshod and be belligerent and do it my way and have that come off like I am going against the rule that I know nothing about. Like, tell me the rule of the game and let me play the game. But don't come on the back end and say, well, we knew the rule, you didn't, and you broke the rule unbeknownst to you.
Yeah.
And then now here we are. So
go
ahead somewhere with that.
We don't actually know what Katie Meyer did. And honestly, it was probably some violation of one of the other stupid NCAA rules about when you can text somebody or when you can, buy someone a freaking Fruit Loop or something. I don't know, man. All I'm saying is all these rules are I'm tired of the NCAA. Whoever's in charge, is it Mark Emmert? I don't care who it is. I'm tired of y'all. Get off our back. Like, we're not even good in football anymore. We're terrible in football. Just leave us alone. Just let us try to be good in basketball. We're good in basketball. We have a great time.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just hard. It's just difficult. And I think, for it to be the NCAA or for it to be anything else, right? Like, I'm not going to tell you, Gabe, go do what you want. And then after the fact, come over to you and say, what are you doing? Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. That's just me. I've been living a long time now, so maybe it's just because I'm, a little more mature and have seen a lot of things. That is very irritating though. Well, and then to carry someone like they're not professional, right? About the rules. Like, don't carry me. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and.
It's a badge of honor.
Though. Hey,
it's a badge of honor. If you're a coach at the University of Miami, you know what? You're going to get investigated and punished by the NCAA for some stupid crap. So you know what, Katie? I think this has happened to you before, but we got your back. So Katie, Coach Meyer, we got your back here on Courtside. And if you need a lawyer to yell at people, I'm here. I'm here. My mom lives really close to you too. She'll help out. Let's talk about actual basketball. Back to actual basketball. Let's bring it back.
But that's team anyway. That's execution of plays, right? I'm not going to, as a coach, say, hey, just run out there and do what you want and then sub somebody out because they're doing what they want, but they didn't know what the expectations were. Anyway, I can go on and on about the life skills of that whole scenario, but we'll go. That was basketball what I said, though. That was basketball what I said. But we'll go.
It was basketball. I'm gonna get real mad. Let's talk about a big game tonight. Oh my God, it's tonight, 6 p.m. Which you should be watching this game for two reasons. First off, it's Maryland at home against South Carolina, which is a huge matchup. I haven't seen the lines yet. I would imagine South Carolina is favored by a heavy amount, but regardless, I think it's going to be a pretty good game. And the second reason you should watch us is because the WNBA draft lottery is happening beforehand.
Right before on ESPN.
Right before.
Yeah.
So the WNBA.
My dub.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be in practice, so I'm not going to see who won the draft lottery in real time. But regardless, you should be watching basically ESPN 2 from 5:30 on to make sure you get the draft lottery and the great game. Let's start with the game, then we'll get into the lottery. Is Diamond Miller okay? Because she twisted her ankle in the first game and then went out and didn't play. They kind of said it was precautionary.
Yeah.
What's happening?
You know what? I have not heard specifically, but it's tough because she was playing so well in that first half of that game. Of course, she hurt. And, for her to be, it's not the same situation or, I know you said ankle, but last year with her missing a ton of games, especially at the beginning of the year, that was tough for Maryland to get that chemistry going. But hopefully she's okay. I mean, the timing of that was like, oh, we have a big game on Friday. And I could see the precautionary reasoning behind not, putting her back in to test it out, whatever was going on with her. So I'm hoping that she'll be ready to go. They need her veteran leadership as a senior this year, but also for her, just coming off that injury riddled season last year where she was kind of in and out. Even after she came back, it was, you're still kind of monitoring the the pain. She had off-season surgery on her knee, just to clean some things out. So I'm a little concerned, and I will be side-eyeing that in College Park tonight.
Yeah.
But it'll be fun. But I'll have my eyes on that. Like, just even off.
Are you calling this game?
Right?
Is it your game?
I am not.
No.
I am not.
So you're going as a fan.
Changes made. There were some changes made. But anywho. But yeah, I'll be there though. It'll be a really interesting and intriguing game tonight for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Aaliyah Boston, I'm gonna guess, is gonna have a big game. Maryland does not. Not that any team in the country has an answer for Aaliyah Boston.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Aaliyah Boston. I just don't even know who are they gonna send to match up against her. Like who's gonna be the center on her.
Yeah, I think this Maryland team. I mean, from what I've seen so far, I think it's going to be a battle of. We were talking about the size of South Carolina and Aaliyah Boston, definitely inside, wreaking havoc. But she can also stretch out and hit the threes, so don't get that twisted. But I think for Maryland, they don't have that size that they seem to have always had. At least some size right inside. But I think this year they're going to be more of a pressing team. I think their defensive schemes have changed in the quarter court. I think they're going to be more of a swarming, quick, aggressive team, and maybe more traps in the quarter court. So I'm interested to see like the size against the speed factor tonight. If you're going to look for a contrast, I think that's what that's going to be for those two teams. And it's hard to gauge. I mean, you have the size over there, but you still have to match up with these speedy guards that Maryland has this year. So I know as a former post player, I didn't want to be on some island out on the perimeter trying to contain somebody, right? I mean, I tried my best, but that was not like my most favorite thing to do. I'm like, oh, snap, I can get low. Like these little ones are trying to get by you. So, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch.
They need Diamond Miller to make it a game. I think
they really do need her on the floor.
They need her on the floor, and she can create a lot of havoc. And especially as you mentioned, they're going to be pressing more. This is a South Carolina team that has some inexperience at the point guard position, as we mentioned earlier. They have some ball handling gaps that maybe Maryland can exploit.
Exactly.
They still need they need Diamond Miller to do any of that.
Yeah,
they need Diamond Miller to do any of that. So hopefully she's okay. I think I don't know. I feel like not hearing anything may be a good sign because
maybe it's
I feel like Brenda. Yeah, but I feel like Brenda's the kind of coach who wouldn't. Huh?
Go.
I was saying I feel like Brenda's the kind of coach who's like not gonna, if the player's playing, she's not gonna say a single word about it, just to throw off the other team just a little bit.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Game time decision is probably what's going to happen there with that. So that's just fine. But still, even with that, it's like, how's she moving? You know what I mean? Like what was the actual situation with her?
It stinks. It's just it's overall stinker. Not the game. No,
just that scenario, that aspect of it. I hate injuries, but so
it's a real bummer. Okay, I want to mention a couple more games coming up to help you guys set your schedule for the weekend. Sunday at 3 p.m. we have Iowa at Drake on ESPN Plus. It's a little spicy game, just a little in-state rivalry, going big time team going to a smaller team. Yeah. Then we have another game just like that, Louisville at Belmont. Teams in the same region, and that's at Sunday again on ESPN Plus. Then we got the big ones, 2 huge games on Monday happening at the same time.
I know,
for some reason.
I don't know
ESPN 2 we got at 6 p.m. number 11 Indiana and number 5 Tennessee. Those rankings will change.
There you go.
And then we have on ESPN the big one, number 3 Texas at number 6 UConn.
That'll
probably be a top 5 matchup.
That's it.
So which one of those games? I mean, we talked about Tennessee. Let's talk a little bit about Texas UConn. I am super pumped for this matchup because I think this is a huge barometer for where UConn is right now after their it was kind of a tumultuous offseason. They lost a lot of talent. Paige Beckers goes down. I want to see how good this team is, and this game is going to tell us.
Right, and didn't Ducharme have some like
Did she?
slight injury this week? Not a major injury. Like there was something going on with her where she was sidelined for a bit. So I think it took them down to
neck
8
stiffness.
players.
Yeah,
Yeah.
neck stiffness took her out of the opener.
Yeah. So I mean that's not like totally detrimental, but yet again, when you don't have a ton of depth, it's like, oh gosh, like here we go, with someone else. But I think they played well. Obviously, I think they put up over 90 points in that opener. So it doesn't look like they're struggling to score the ball. AZ Fudd looks like she is primed and ready to go. Gino Arbiema has said as much. He said, it's not the freshman AZ Fudd right here. This is a different kid. And so just knowing her over the years, I'm anxious to see what he means by that. I'd like to see that, like sophomore, healthy AZ. And I think last year, she wasn't 100%. And even without her being 100%, she was pretty darn good in their Final Four run as well. So and had that great game against Tennessee last year. I think she had 27 in that one. So, I mean, definitely capable of just dominating. So I want to see what that looks like and see what that depth looks like. And if that's going to pose an issue moving through the season.
Yeah, no, I mean, the depth is going to be an issue. Let's just say it outright. Yeah. But, you do have AZ Fudd, as you mentioned, at 26 points, 9 of 17 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3, yet still managed to score, 26 points on 17 shots, despite missing 7 threes. And that's not going to happen again. So she will, I think she will bounce back from that 3-point performance, hopefully have a big game here against Texas. It's going to be tough for her with all of that guard pressure, with how Vic Schaefer plays basketball. They're in your face. They're going to create a lot of havoc. And I think AZ is going to have the ball in her hands a lot of times. So it's going to be a really good test for her in terms of being a creator, being, kind of running an offense more or less. But, I'm excited to see how she does. I did not know about Caroline Ducharme. I hope she's playing against Texas. I hope that's why they kept her out of the opener.
Yeah, you got to put some Robitussin on that thing and let her play.
Yeah, you gotta get the massage gun. I'm sure they have a very technologically advanced one. Use that, get it loose, because that's a huge game. This is a really, really big game for both teams. And I think Texas is looking for that statement that we're here. This is we're deep. Now is the time where Vic Schaefer's Texas is coming into fruition. This is now where you're going to see Rory Harmon coming into that elite top tier status. That's what they want from this game. And obviously at UConn is the place to do it. If you want to make a statement like that, it is at UConn. So I'm really excited for that. Do you want to make a quick pick?
Oh man. Dude, no. No, I will. I think for the UConn game, I think UConn is going to win that. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be close because I think they have so much adversity, and I think that's going to give them that fire to give them the edge, right? Sure. I think they're like next player up mentality. I think they're going to be really sharp and focused with their attention to detail. And I want to see sophomore AZ Fudd, what Gino's talking about, and I want to see how they can sustain themselves throughout a game, right? And that'll help me kind of prognosticate what they will look like, as the season progresses. But I'm really excited for them. But I think, there's always that edge, when you throw X's and O's off the table, right? Take that all away. There becomes that edge that is the X factor. And I think for UConn, I think that's what it's going to be.
Give me Hook 'em horns. Going with my guy Dano, going with my girl Rory, going with my guy Vic, and the dribble drive offense. Let's see it. Okay. So I'm going with the Hook 'em horns. I think it'll be close, though. UConn's going to be ready for that attack from Texas. I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup.
Yeah.
All right.
And that. When you did that, it gave me like a little PTSD. But we won that game. But
you won that game.
We won that game, but it was so eerie that all 14,000 plus fans were standing in silence going like that. And we were like, I will never forget that. So when you did that, I was like, ooh, I got a little chill, honey.
I don't know why I can only really do this with my left hand. My right hand's.
That was something else, though. That was something else down there in Texas. But
if this game was in Texas, I would be picking Texas by a lot. But I'd say Texas by a little. Texas by a little. So we talked about the draft lottery last week. I just want to touch on it just a little bit. So let's see the team. All right, who's your most fun outcome? The one where you're like, wow, this is fun. And I know for us, we have an obvious answer because we live in the city where the team is. But try to be as objective as possible. Because the answer still might be the Washington Mystics, but if we're being objective, which is the most fun outcome?
Oh man,
I got one.
I'm putting on my objective hat, Gabe. I don't know. For some reason, Minnesota is like sounding like that could be fun. I know Nafisa Collier is going to be the one sitting in for the draft. I saw them make an announcement.
Is she bringing her daughter?
I don't know. I hope so because I want to see that.
That's two representatives. Just saying.
It's two representatives. Is that fair? I mean, is that like against the rules? We need the rules for the rules. But I think Minnesota somehow is intriguing to me. Okay. And then outside of Washington, I mean, we know Washington is intriguing because we want to know who's coming here to DC. But I think for me, I think Minnesota poses some kind of like mystery. Like what do they need? Who are they going for? And where would they end up, obviously, in the draft lot tonight.
And where else would you want to have be developed than by Cheryl Reeve and the entire cast of coaches that they have in Minnesota, including with a pretty easy lifeline to Sylvia Fowles if they can get her from her mortician school. She's still doing that. If they can get her on the phone, that'd be very helpful. So I'm with you. I like Minnesota a lot. I like Atlanta a ton. I think I said this in the last podcast that every time I did the draft lottery on across the timeline, and I got Atlanta, just a little part of me like leapt out because I was like, oh my god, we're gonna have Ryan, we're gonna have Nas, we're gonna have Ari, and we're gonna have Aaliyah Boston. Like these are all of the major characters from my first 2 years of covering college basketball. So for me, it was like, oh, it'd be really fun to see Ryan and Aaliyah together. I think Washington is also super fun.
Right.
It's a little different of a fit, right? Because like Aaliyah Boston of these teams, Minnesota too, to a certain extent, she's not coming in and being a star. And to a certain extent, like if she came to Washington, you'd expect her to start. Right. There's a pretty reasonable case that she would not be a starter on this team, which is insane. Yeah. And so seeing her there would be really interesting just from the perspective of how she grows as a player, and what the team does. Like, do you start thinking about maybe moving, one of the other pieces for something else that fits better? And like how Aaliyah Boston will grow under the Tebow system, whether it's Mike or Eric, both those guys really love their 5-out offenses. Yeah. So Aaliyah's going to be, into that futuristic mix immediately. Absolutely. So that's why I think there's an objective case for Washington being the most fun. I think there's a good case for Indiana too. I know we kind of skip over Indiana because they have been bad lately.
Young though, they were so young, So I like that with Atlanta and Indiana. The youth movement that both of those teams have. I mean, that's super intriguing as well because you can plug and play, get these draft picks, and they can all grow together, right? The first and second year players just becoming this conglomerate. I love that. So that's exciting also. So I didn't think about it.
No, in Indiana, you also get the Destiny Henderson, Aaliyah Boston reunion. That'd be really cool.
There you go.
I think Melissa Smith and Aaliyah Boston will actually work pretty well together. And Alyssa Smith's skill set might also push Aaliyah Boston to be a little bit more perimeter focused, a bit of a different player. And I think the reason I say Aaliyah Boston's going to be the one doing that is because I think she can do anything. Like, this is the type of player. Have you heard the story about when Michael Jordan was drafted and Bobby Knight was with who was it? Portland's GM. And so everyone draft knew Hakeem Olajuwon was going first to the Rockets. That was happening for sure. So second pick was the Portland Trailblazers, and the third pick was the Chicago Bulls. So Bob Knight is with the GM. So it took Sam Bowie. So Bob Knight is with the GM of the Portland Trailblazers. And the guy's telling him, hey, Bob Knight's singing the praises of Michael Jordan because he just coached him for the Team USA. And he was like, you got to take this guy. This guy's incredible. He's an amazing basketball player. You can do whatever you want with him. Right. And then the Portland GM goes, well, we really need a center, so we're thinking about taking Bowie. And then Bob Knight goes, just play Jordan at center, right? Just play Jordan at center. I don't care. Aaliyah Boston's that type of player. I don't care what spot you have on the floor. If you need her to be a point guard, guess what? She can be a point guard. Right. It's like it's this type of player that I think you can build around. First off, Indiana, Atlanta, those two teams are definitely going to build around her. I think Minnesota will also end up building around her. And then in Washington, I don't know. I don't know what would happen if Washington got this first pick. I have no clue. That is the one that's like wait. That'd be staggering. Yeah. That's what I think I have as the scariest outcome for the league. But I think it's just like Aaliyah. She is probably the best prospect we've seen. I mean, Sabrina was a really great prospect. Right. Asia. Yes. Although I don't know if Asia quite had all of the cachet that Aaliyah will have by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. Probably Breanna Stewart, honestly. Like in terms of how long she's been at the top of college basketball. So I don't know. I do hope Indiana gets it though, because there has to be some justice in this world.
Yeah, I think they ended the season on a 17-game losing streak last year and had 5 wins.
You cursed them, Chris.
I thought they'd get to 6 by the All-Star break, and then after that, it was
they got to 5 and then lost every single game
after that. I mean, I'm always full of optimism and hope. I try. Right? I mean, why not be filled with optimism and hope? Like, I don't know.
And that's why Indiana fans, you should be excited. Indiana fans, be excited. Be ready to win the number 1 pick, even though it may or may not happen. If it doesn't happen, you're still gonna get a pretty good player. I think, hopefully. All right, let's wrap up some coaching news. As we mentioned, 4 different head coaches hired in the WNBA since we last talked. We'll start with the biggest one, Curt Miller, going from the Connecticut Sun, who just made the finals, to the Los Angeles Sparks.
Yeah, I think there were some whispers of that before that happened, and I didn't know if it would actually happen. But when it did, I was like, wow, you know what? Good for him, right? I think it's another challenge on a different coast. I mean, he's been at Connecticut for a long time now. And I just think that, LA has so many free agents. I remember I was talking to Lexi Brown last month just about how they don't have their players secured yet, right? So it's like, putting a lump of clay in front of Curt Miller. And now he can mold and do what he wants to do there. So I'm just really excited for his new opportunity there. And I'm sure that he is as well. I think he posted something where he was leaving his office for the last time and everything was out of it. It was almost like a sitcom, and they go out there and they cut the light off. And it's like, but I think, he made a lot of great memories there, great relationships with his players, and had great runs to the finals. Several times over. So I just think that, he wants to get over the hump and maybe he just needs new surroundings to do that. And sometimes that's what it takes too, right? Sometimes that's what it takes. So kudos to him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy
for him too. If nothing else, for his great collection of Hawaiian shirts. Because now moving from Connecticut to LA, you're gonna have so many more opportunities to wear that shirt. He's gonna look amazing. He's gonna get a tan. I'm very excited.
Oh, I'm
Forget
sure.
forget coaching. Forget coaching for a second. That's an awesome move for Kurt. I think he's gonna have an amazing time. Good for him. But I'm with you. I mean, I think, like you mentioned, this is not necessarily a rebuilding project, but he mentioned that he's excited to rebuild in Los
Yeah,
Angeles. So
I think it's
I don't know what that means necessarily for the future. To your point, I want to say I'm going to double check this on herhoopstats.com, which you should subscribe to, by the way, because we have changed our pricing a little bit, and it's still extremely cheap. Like, this is $50 a year for all the stats you're ever going to need, and salary cap sheets, and a bunch of other stuff. And we have different pricing models now. That's just a little plug for the website. Now I'm checking the stats, the Her Hoop Stats salary cap page, and I'm looking at Los Angeles's cap sheet. Yeah, they only have Katie Lou Samuelson, Kennedy Carter, Jasmine Walker, Ray Barella, and Olivia Nelson-Ododo under contract for next season. So Nneka Ogwumike, Christy Tolliver, Chiney Ogwumike, Brittany Sykes, Jordan Canada, Lexi Brown, and Kiana Smith. Well, Lexi Brown, all unrestricted free agents.
Yeah. So team.
So we'll see.
Make some moves.
They do not have, famously, they do not have their first round pick in this year's draft because the Washington Mystics have it. Which, as if they would have asked me when they were thinking of that trade last year, I would have told you, hey, that's probably not a good idea because you may not end up doing as well as you hope, and you may end up firing the coach who's making that decision. However, we are where we are in life. So Kurt's going to have a brand new slate to work with. And even though it may not look pretty at the beginning, I think he's going to get that organization on track.
I agree. I think he's going to, take it by the bootstraps and just make it his own. And that's always exciting too. Just a fresh slate, turn the page, new chapter, all of that. It gives you some added joy. He already has a ton of joy, right? With what he's doing, he loves it. But I think now, having a change of scenery, right? And like I said, a lot of chess pieces in the box there that he can shift and move.
Well, he's also going to have a lot more vitamin D due to being somewhere where the sun exists. I'm kidding. Connecticut, obviously, in the summer is not that bad. But he's going to be in somewhere where he's going to have plenty of sun. Going to make you a lot happier. It's very easy to be happy in LA. Every time I've gone, I've had an amazing time. Now I want to get to who's replacing him in Connecticut, which is really exciting, at least to me. Is this official? I don't know. But Stephanie White is going to be the head coach in Connecticut. Actually, I'm trying to look if this is official yet.
I have not seen an official announcement, but I have seen it spoken about, but I don't think they've sent out the presser for her or when that will be. But congratulations, Steph, if you're watching. Hey, girl. Hey.
Oh, okay. So Mike Vopel reported it. So that's a done deal. So Stephanie White going to Connecticut. She was doing a game the other night, and as this news was breaking, so it was really funny. But obviously, we're all familiar with her as an announcer. A lot of you guys will be familiar with her as a head coach for the Indiana Fever when they made the finals in 2015. Right, that was the year.
Was that 15? That was 2015.
So didn't they? They made it. They won it once, and they made it, and then they lost.
They won it in 2012.
Right.
But then when she was the head coach there, was it 15?
They lost.
Wow.
In her first season. Yeah. 2015. It was 2015 because it was an odd year dynasty. So Minnesota took them out in 2015.
That's right.
And that's how they lost. But that was her first season as the Fever head coach.
Amazing.
And she left to go to Vanderbilt and then, stayed there for 5 years. So now she's back in the WNBA. I'm excited. I mean, she's been a great coach, been a great player, been around this game for a long time. So it's nice to see her back on the bench.
Yeah, I love that. And another WNBA player getting a coaching in the league. And you love to see that continuity as well. And you love to see Steph White get another crack with a whiteboard in her hand. I love it. She is just a phenomenal woman, for one. But I just think that she's just so dynamic with how she leads and teaches through the game of basketball. And I say that when I say leads and teaches, it's not just X's and O's that she's talking about. right? She's
Right.
telling you the right way to do things in life. And she's tough-nosed, and she's going to ask the best of you every day. And you're going to want to give that to her because she has that kind of energy about her. And it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to see her when she comes through here in DC.
Purdue stand up. Stephanie White is back in the WNBA. All right, moving on. Like I mentioned, we have four of these. We've done two. Let's go to Indiana. You know, keep with the theme here. Christy Sides is going to be their new head coach. She was a assistant with Atlanta last year. She spent a lot of time in Indiana. She's part of the Pokey Chapman coaching tree there. Yeah. So exciting for her to get her first opportunity as a head coach. I think at any level, from what I can tell, she has not been the head coach yet. So it's exciting for her.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And it is different. Excuse me. It is different when you've been a long time assistant. Did that before, but when you are a head coach, I mean, there's something that changes. I mean, maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know, but there's something that changes and shifts in the responsibility, right? You become someone who's not just suggesting things to adjust during the game, right? Because it's a little frustrating and a little daunting, right, as an assistant coach, because everybody has, you have like 8 eyeballs on the same game, but different philosophies or different reasoning behind what you're seeing. So it's very intriguing to think of it that way. But if you suggest things as an assistant, sometimes those suggestions are taken and sometimes they're not, right? But I think I really had a lot of fun when, if my suggestion was taken and it shifted the game. And I'm like, so as an assistant,
feel like you made a big play.
I'm like, and when, no, I never did that anyway on never mind. But I think, it just gives you like, some sense of confidence, right? That you are seeing something properly and that the adjustment was made and it was necessary and it changed the flow of the game. Like, I love that. So I think as a head coach, I know I shifted and moved so many times throughout a game. And then once we found what fit, we're going to go with that. And I think that was the challenge, as a head coach, was to be able to listen to your assistant coaches and take their advice or not. And then, it's flipped. Excuse me. It's flipped because now, should I stand on what I'm feeling or should we, switch it to what the assistant coach is saying? So now that's a different dynamic, but sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes I did listen to assistants and maybe give it a possession or two, see what it looked like. And if I didn't like it, like, no, we're not doing it, or I like it, you're doing it. You know what I mean? So I was always one to accept, adjustments by assistant coaches, because as an assistant coach, I wanted my adjustment to be accepted. Right. So it's all relative. So I think she's going to be great.
No, I think she's gonna she has her opportunity, right? Like, things go belly up and sometimes it doesn't work out. I think probably another big challenge for a long-time assistant coach, and let's just talk about Latricia Tramwell as well, who's coming in. And is this her first head coaching job?
I believe so.
No,
yes.
no. Well, she was
college. She coached in college, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah. She coached at the NAIA level as the head coach.
Yes.
Yeah, and then Division II. So she has been a head coach, which is a little different. But obviously, in the WNBA, she's only been an assistant, and she spent the last 4 seasons with the Sparks, really taking over the defense. So that was her calling card, and their defense was awesome. But their offense, not so much. Defense was awesome, and so she's going to come in and hopefully help Dallas become a better team on that side. Now, I don't know, which one is better in terms of your hires here, because obviously Kurt, to me, that's the best hire, because he's the one who's most proven. He knows what he's doing, and he's gotten a team to the finals multiple times, like very recently. So we know Kurt's there. Stephanie White, obviously we have more experience with her. We know her. That doesn't necessarily mean that, she can come back into the WNBA after so many years outside of it. So maybe I don't know. I don't know, which side of the coin you want to pick here, but I think it might be interesting to bring in a young coach like a Christy Sides, or someone who has a lot of experience doing a single thing, right? Like if Trammell can bring her defense over, that's probably the most valuable thing that any of those three coaches could bring over. So I'm excited to see how they all do, and I'm hoping that they all do well, but I have no problems with the hires. I'm just interesting.
Same. No, I think experience is the best teacher, whether you're playing or coaching, period. But I also think that, when you've paid your dues as a longtime assistant and even for Trammell, like having collegiate head coaching experience behind her, I mean, that's experience as well. So, I mean, it's all relative, but I think all four coaches are going to hit the ground running. I think all four coaches are hungry to get with their teams and to get their players together, especially in LA when half the team is unrestricted free agents. But I just think it's going to be fun for all of them to challenge themselves in a new place and for some in a brand new role as head coach. So especially with Christy Sides, I'm excited for her. She's a sweetheart. Just known her over the years as well. And I know that's going to be a fun challenge for her to be a couple inches over, right? In the next chair. That's always what they say. Hey, you're fine right there, but move over our seat. And that's when things really get popping. So I think it's going to be an exciting season to say the least, but to watch for these new coaches, it's almost the same kind of excitement as, when the rookies hit the court last year. So it's, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see that.
Well, there's only November, December, January, February, March,
April-ish.
May. 6-7 months left
That's
till
a
the season.
lot.
And we have
we still have college basketball.
we have an entire other season of basketball. We actually have 8 or 9 seasons I'm kind of paying attention to this year for basketball. Yeah. It's been a lot. I don't think I've done anything other than basketball since we went to Disney World last weekend. But other than that, nothing outside of the last 3 weeks has been not basketball. So
that's good. That's a good life.
Yeah, it is a good life. Disney and basketball, amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun stuff.
All right, Christy, I'm good. If you want, unless we were missing something, anything, I don't think so. We'll have another podcast next week. Okay,
I know. We'll do another one. But just I did want to, and not to end it on a sad thing, but I did want to send prayers and strength to Brittany Griner and her family, friends, teammates, fans. It's a tough week, just with that. So I just wanted to say that, just to let her know that we're thinking of her, and it's getting more and more scary, but we are definitely keeping that situation in prayer. So I will say that.
And there's a slight update that she is allegedly being moved into a Russian penal colony, which is not a good thing to hear. However, Joe Biden was talking about this earlier this week, that he expects the tensions to somewhat ease up after the midterm elections, because basically nothing was going to happen until that happened. So hopefully this is now going to come closer to a conclusion with Brittany coming home soon enough. And that's what we're hoping for. That's what we're praying for. And I'm with you. I'm sending as much strength and prayers as we can to her. So she's still at the forefront of our minds. The reason we do this at the end of the show is that it's tough for us to talk about, obviously.
Absolutely is. But, we always have to, keep a pulse on what's going on with women's basketball as a whole. And we're all a family when it comes down to it. We're all a family when it comes down to it. So, we're going to continue to bring you women's basketball news across the board, whether it be college, whether it be WNBA, whether it be world news. We're right here for you on the Her Hoop Stats podcast network. We have some great games starting tonight right in College Park with Maryland and South Carolina. So if you are in the DMV area, you need to make your way over there to the Xfinity Center, because it's going to be so incredible over there. I saw Diamond Miller and Cheyenne Sellers were going around to the different dining halls on campus saying, hey, you guys need to come to the game tomorrow. So I think that's what it's all about. The community the basketball fan community in this DMV area is strong. So I know it's going to be fun. And plus Dawn Staley's coming in. So I'm excited for the whole entire dynamic of the evening. So I can't wait for the jump ball this evening. It's going to be a big day. It's going to be a big day. But until then, we will sign off for now. They are shutting the lights off here on Courtside. We have to get up out of here. And Gabe, it's been a pleasure, my friend, chit-chatting with you today. I'm Christy Winter-Scott for Gabe Ibrahim. We'll catch you next